Lincoln 103, 5 Lincoln 102, Lincoln 103 and 102.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
Henry 8, Henry 9. Respond to gate 437 Bravo for your dignitary detail. 3K 911 unattended 400 lower level near carousel 4 black bag. GTA in progress 401 parking structure section 4 boy.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
415 passenger onboard aircraft.
Control 2 Franklin en route.
484 suspect, female, Hispanic, 28 years of age, blue jeans, no further.
Control 5 Frank 401 is en route.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio, right here broadcasting live from Studio B in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina, on a warm summer-like day here in April. We've had some great weather in the next couple of days, temperatures rising into the 88-degree mark, so we're enjoying it for sure, and we hope that wherever you're at, the weather is doing pretty good as well, as spring is in full swing across the country. Of course, what that means for us in the security and public safety fields is that our call volumes, our crimes, our incidents that we respond to are about to go up substantially as they do every single year. Hey, I'm your host, Rick McCann, founder and CEO of Private Officer International and Armour College. And I'll tell you, in my 45 years of experience, I can tell you that spring and summer brings out people who have been sitting at home watching TV for the most part, day after day, because of the bad weather, winter cold. And now they're free and they're out and about, and that brings a lot of activity into apartment complexes, hotels, all sorts of amusement parks, concerts. Things are beginning to cook. They're beginning to happen, and we're beginning to be part of that in a good and sometimes not so good way by being called out to quell disturbances and stop people from stealing and, being involved in domestic violence incidents and so on and so forth. But that's part of the gig. That's part of the job that we did sign up for, and hopefully we are going home in one piece, just like we came to work, with all of our digits, not being injured and not being killed. Woo! A lot of things happening here at Private Officer International this week. A lot of news, of course, as always. But I do want to tell you about a couple of really big things happening that you need to get involved in. We're in the midst of our annual Best Dressed Officer in Uniform and Best Looking Patrol Vehicle. Send in your pictures. You have to have at least 2 pictures. Send them to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. The first prize is about $300, and the second prize, I believe, is $100. And of course, there'll be a first and a second prize for each category. So you can also send in for both categories. Why not? Take a chance. Send in your pictures today at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. And while I'm mentioning helpdesk@privateofficer.com, if you're a POI member, a listener of the radio program, a follower on our social media, and you have any questions or you need assistance at any time, 24/7, 365 days a year, you can contact us by emailing us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. They are your one-stop source for information, assistance, help with employee type issues or member benefits. That is your one-stop. You don't have to remember a bunch of emails or phone numbers. Just contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Also, while you're on the website at privateofficer.org, sign up for those free breaking news alerts our biweekly newsletters and the Officer Down reports that come out. You can get all that for free and so much more just by signing up right there at privateofficer.org. A box will drop down and you'll be able to sign up for those free alerts. And you'll also have discounts for training and products and other things coming straight to you in your mailbox. And starting in next month, in about 4 weeks, about 4 to 6 weeks, we have a brand new service. We're going to be sending out tips once a week, a short 2.5 to 3 minute video with a tip of the week. And that's 100% absolute free. If you're not already a member, of course, we do need for you to join at privateofficer.org. Become a member today. You'll get more than 40 member benefits and discounts on training and so much more. privateofficer.org. Become a member today. Right now we have a special lifetime membership just for $99. You can't beat that. Regular $170. So if you go to any of these other associations, their membership fees are in the hundreds of dollars, and we're just $99. Sign up for that special today, and you'll be glad you did, believe me. What else do we have going on? A lot going on that we got to get to, a lot to discuss today, a lot of news. We're going to be having our annual Officer Awards program coming up in a few weeks where we recognize 100-plus officers across the U.S. and around the country every year. And we want you to participate. We'll be sending out emails for nominations coming up within the next week to 10 days. Also, while we're talking about all this, 2 other things I need to talk to you about. We've got 2 brand new benefits or services that we're offering to everyone for free. We have a brand new Court Watch report that comes out monthly. We follow all of the court cases involving people charged with assaulting or killing, private security and law enforcement, and also some high-profile cases where security officers have been charged with murders or other felonies. And every month you'll get that report right there in your email. We used to charge for that report for our customers, and now it's absolutely free. Also, every month you're going to get another report called the Honor Roll. We recognize security and private police across the country every day. We get nominations and requests for awards, and they're sent out without a lot of public hoopla, but we're going to be sending out a newsletter every month where we're going to be announcing the person's name, what they did to be nominated for the award, how you can be nominated for an award, and it's going to be very beneficial and enlightening and uplifting at the same time. And you can get those. All that you have to do is sign up for our emails at privateofficer.org, and that'll be instant. They'll be coming to you free of charge. Wow, we have a lot of things happening. Sad report coming out of Las Vegas, Nevada. An unarmed security officer on patrol of an apartment complex was shot and killed. Some type of confrontation, and he was killed. This is about the 6th or 7th security officer killed in the last 2 weeks. And usually during this time of year, we always say, spring and summer, a lot of injuries and deaths to security officers, and again during the late winter holidays around Thanksgiving to New Year's. And unfortunately, this security officer was unarmed and had no way to defend himself. Now, I understand, and we understand as an organization, there's some places, they're becoming fewer and farther between, but there's some places that an unarmed security officer does just fine. No need for weaponry. But in an apartment complex, especially one that might be crime-ridden in a bad neighborhood or known to be gang-infested, drug-infested, you definitely have to be armed. You have to be equipped with some type of two-way radio communication with a dispatcher, and you really need a secondary officer as a backup. And unfortunately, many times, those things do not exist in the security field. And we put a report out several years ago that directly linked not having communication, not being armed, to a big portion of the officers killed in the last 10 years. And we're going to look at that again because this is really a problem. And we recently talked with several state OSHA offices about this, and they're looking into the communication issue as well because, cell phones work, but not when you're being attacked, not when you're trying to fight off an offender. You don't have time to pick up the phone and dial 911. So we need to look at that and really address that issue. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a couple more things we need to discuss. We're going to talk about all of the breaking news, and then we're going to talk about the security industry and really how you can make it better. We'll be right back after a couple of messages, a couple of public service announcements. Don't go away. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat radio show.
I was just going to the grocery store.
Seatbelt violators, beware.
I forgot to put it on.
If you're pulled over because you've broken the law.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable.
And you're not wearing your seatbelt.
It's broken, but I was going to have it fixed.
No matter what your excuse is, you will get a ticket in addition to the ticket for your original violation.
Click it or ticket? That's pretty easy to remember.
For some children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too.
All right, this week in the news, always a lot of breaking news. We've made it through the Easter weekend, and for many of us in the Mid-Atlantic region and down in the southeast, we've had quite a few storms. In fact, in the Virginia and North Carolina, those two states had 11 tornadoes on Friday. Numerous people injured, including a security officer. Be sure this time of year that you are paying attention to the weather, that you either have those alerts being sent to you on your phone or that you have a weather radio with you. It's very important to stay on top of the weather, especially at this time of year when storms pop up and tornadoes start rolling through. This week, coming out of Avon Park, Florida, 2 Florida middle school students are charged with felonies for conspiring to commit murder and kidnapping, authorities said on Wednesday. Avon Park Middle School teacher noticed 14-year-old girls acting hysterically while looking at a folder. Further investigation found that the folder contained information about kidnapping and killing students and teachers. Authorities in Highlands County were called, and they took those 2 teens into custody. Now, they're not releasing their names, obviously, because they are minors, but this is a horrific situation for 2 teenagers to conjure up, and really, it could have been carried through had it not been for that alert teacher. Coming out of Hawaii, a hospital there has stepped up their security after a knifing event where several staff and others were injured. This happened at the emergency department of Hilo Medical Center, where a patient evidently stabbed several employees. Now the security department has increased their security and taken several measures, hopefully, so that this will be prevented in the future. We received information and then saw a couple of days ago news about the Coachella Music Festival. It's a yearly annual event in Indio, California, where dozens and hundreds of security officers from many different agencies are hired during this, I believe it's a month-long event. Now information is coming out that these security officers are not fed well, not given weather gear, not given adequate sleeping quarters, being made to sleep on the wet ground, many times working 12, 14, 16 hours without relief, not even being able to go to the bathroom. We've been made aware of this for several years. Companies, including Allied Universal and a company that they own called Staff Pro, is being accused of treating security officers worse than animals. And like I said, we've heard about this. We've had direct information about this, and we are looking further into it. Unfortunately, at many of these music concert events that go for 3 or 4 days or a week or longer, situations do get out of hand. There is a lack of food. They do run out of supplies, unfortunately, because of poor planning and just the mass amount of people. And but we are looking further into this. Going back to Hawaii, in Honolulu, public safety officers at the University of Hawaii detained a sexual assault suspect last week. Authorities say that officers were notified of a naked man running around sexually attacking students, and they were able to find and detain him. In San Diego, California, police there arrested a security officer after he followed a customer from a restaurant, the El Camino Bar in Little Italy, down the street during a confrontation and shot the man. The security officer has been taken into custody and identified as D'Angelo Jeffrey, 23. They've charged him with felony assault with a firearm. In Kentucky, authorities in Boyd County said that they discovered a theft ring who was bringing back broken TVs that they were buying in several different places online and so forth. They were bringing them back in the television boxes from Walmart. They would get television boxes and then put the old TVs and bring those back. Police there have arrested at least 6 people, are continuing their investigation. In Salisbury, North Carolina, that is just outside the Charlotte city limits in the metropolitan area of Charlotte, North Carolina, 2 Livingston College security officers are being credited with saving a 3-month-old child who happened to be on the campus with her mother. Authorities say that the 2 security officers, Officer Nationally Ledbetter and Kia Allison, were dispatched to a child having difficulty breathing. When they arrived, the child was turning blue. They were able to revive the child, and we'll be contacting those officers to present them with awards. A brand new law in Maryland was passed several days ago, which now allows for Johns Hopkins University and Medical Center to begin that process of starting their own police force. Because they are a private school, legislators had to write the law that would allow them to begin to establish their own police department. Some in the area have protested this. Others are applauding it because they feel it's necessary. Private Officer International announced last week 2 brand new services, Court Watch, which will be a monthly announcement of cases that they have followed involving security officers injured or killed in the line of duty and those accused of those crimes, as well as other incidents that have gone through and been adjudicated, and once a month there'll be a report on that. The second service is called the Honor Roll. Every day we receive news resources and third-party alerts, information about security officers who have helped to stop crime, rescue people, and really put themselves in harm's way. We have reached out to those officers time and time again to present them with awards and acknowledge and recognize what they've done. And now we're going to have a monthly newsletter really to go into detail about what these officers are doing. In Minnesota, a conservation officer was thrown from a boat and died from drowning. 43-year-old conservation officer Eugene Wynn Jr. died. A second officer was also thrown from the boat but was able to swim to shore and be rescued. A homeless shelter security officer in Anchorage, Alaska, has been arrested after assaulting a homeless man there and beating him and being caught on surveillance cameras. Bernard Fatoga, 19, and a second man were charged with first-degree and second-degree assault. The victim suffered various head fractures and injuries, according to the Anchorage Police Department. Coming out of Syracuse, New York, police there say that a off-duty security officer was shot to death by her boyfriend. Sarah Tomes died Saturday at her apartment after being shot in the head by her boyfriend, identified as Darian Shellman. He has been charged with manslaughter. A suspect in the shooting of a security officer last month got into a gun battle with law enforcement in Indianapolis, Indiana. Police shot and injured 29-year-old Jarius Moore, who was wanted for the security officer shooting. And police there say that they got information about his whereabouts and went to arrest him when the incident happened. In Dudwoody, Georgia, that is in the Atlanta metro area, 24 people in a shoplifting sting arrested at a mall. $6,279 worth of merchandise was recovered. A man in Memphis chased a security officer and a hotel desk clerk around the property, firing a gun at him. Has been arrested at the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Memphis. Police say that they were notified of the shooting. When they arrived, they apprehended Alexander Coleman Jr., and they placed him into custody, charged him with attempted murder. In Sandy Springs, Georgia, police and the city are clamping down on false alarms by fining the security company owners who have installed the alarms. The new ordinance allows police to fine not the owner of the alarm, but the person or the company who placed that alarm there. In Delaware County, Pennsylvania, a sad situation there. 62-year-old Henry Toma, who is a 20-year security veteran at the King of Perugia Mall, was killed in a hit-and-run accident. Police are still looking for that suspect. In Chicago, a security officer there shot a man who was involved in a rental scheme. When he confronted the suspect, 25-year-old man pulled a gun. The security officer fired several shots, hitting him. The man was involved, along with several others, with being able to rent high-end vehicles and then sell them. In Orange County, Florida, a very alert mall security officer stopped short of apprehending robbery suspects, but did get the information and was able to pass it on to deputies who later arrested 4 suspects in a smash and grab at Mayer's Jewelers. We'll also be reaching out to her to be able to recognize her with an award. In Schenectady, New York, a detective off-duty has been arrested for assaulting a nightclub security officer. Detective Steve Nelson, who's been on the force for about 10 years, was off-duty during an altercation. He's been charged with second-degree harassment and assault. At the JFK Airport, New York, police there say a man was caught by TSA with a gun concealed in a DVD player. The man tried to pass through security with that firearm and ammunition. This was not an event where he forgot it in his luggage or his briefcase. It was actually something that he did purposely. Concealed a 9mm in aluminum foil, but the TSA agent was able to detect it. In Mesquite, Texas, a police officer is suspended and is under investigation. He was an SRO at a Mesquite high school when he accidentally discharged his firearm inside the school at 11:45 a.m. last week. they're investigating how and why that happened. In Richland, Washington, a security officer that used to work at a nuclear site has filed a lawsuit after being fired. She claims that other security officers put urine and feces around the restroom that she used, and also used obscenity, and she's filed a discrimination lawsuit. In Ridgeland, South Carolina, authorities there say a South Carolina prison employee has been charged with smuggling drugs. Authorities conducting an investigation found that this had been going on for a while and arrested Stephen Allen Washington, and he is currently in custody. Authorities in Richland County, South Carolina, has recognized a longtime county security officer who protected the county's administration building for his long service and his upcoming retirement. The Richland County Council recognized him during a meeting and thanked him for his service. Also in the news, an on-duty armored truck driver has been arrested for DUI. Officers say the armored truck was swerving when they pulled over the driver, Vicente Silvazano of Santa Ana, California. They found that he was under the influence, in uniform and armed. They took him into custody. In Augusta, Georgia, public safety officers at Payne College discovered a student dead. An investigation revealed that it was a suicide. The school was closed down for one day, but has since reopened. A security officer shot during a situation in Oakland, California, is recovering at home. Police say suspects have yet to be arrested. In Ashland, Virginia, a longtime security officer, David Fish, passed away. He had been a security officer for more than 22 years. In New York, a man has been arrested for assault of loss prevention during an arrest for shoplifting. Braintree, Massachusetts police say a security officer at Suffolk University was arrested in an off-duty road rage incident where he was accused of waving a handgun. Authorities charged 33-year-old Daniel Bates of Avon for the incident that happened at Route 93 South in Dorchester. Always a lot of news coming in here at the Private Officer News Desk. If you have something that you'd like for us to know about that's happening in your area, whether it's news, training event, some other type of situation or incident, always send it to us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. All right, we're going to move along here. Always be the first to know about what's happening. If you want news sent to your email box, contact us at privateofficer.org. You can sign up right there, and you'll get all the newsletters, breaking news, and officer down reports. You can also read our news blog, daily news blog. Our news is always fresh, never stale. All right, we've got a lot of other things that we need to get to, so we're going to move along here and leave our news desk, cross over to the next segment right after this break.
What a fantastic day.
What a fantastic day.
The water's like glass.
The water is like glass.
Don't forget the sodas.
Don't forget the life jacket.
Who wants the 8 and who wants the 15?
Who wants the inflatables?
What a great day.
To be on the water.
So glad you saw me go over.
That was so funny. When you went over and your life jacket inflated.
Never go out without a life jacket on again.
What a great day we had.
When it comes to wearing life jackets, make the right choice. You're in command. Boat responsibly. This message brought to you by the National Safe Boating Council and the U.S. Coast Guard.
Federal Aviation Aviation Administration wants you to fly your drone responsibly. Avoid flying your drone near other aircraft, especially near airports. Fly your drone below 400 feet. Always keep your drone in sight. If you see a safety issue involving drones, contact local law enforcement immediately. Fly smart. Fly safe. Have fun.
You know, we often broadcast and bring you help wanted ads from our companies as well as companies of our members and those who sign up for special marketing ads. And we're going to start doing that more on a regular basis. I do have a couple of job openings to tell you about today, but every other week you'll be able to listen for those job openings across the country of various companies, as well as see them posted on our own news website. So today, Valley Security in Colorado is currently hiring full-time and part-time armed and unarmed officers. You can go to Valley Security's website and check them out today and see what they have available and apply right there online. Regional Patrol in Alabama is also hiring. They are looking for full-time armed security and security patrol supervisors, as well as a regional manager. You can go to Regional Patrol website in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, and check out what they have available. I know that most security companies really offer about the same type of job and duties and that sort of thing. But community public safety is unique, very different. Go to communitypublicsafetyservices.org. Community Public Safety is looking for public safety officers, community service officers, and private traffic investigators in Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Soon they'll also have openings in Georgia and South Carolina. So check them out today, publicsafetyservices.org. It'll tell you what credentials you need. It's different than the average security company because it's not a security company. It is a professional law enforcement and public safety agency. Also, Valiant Private Security is hiring security officers in the Bay Area there in California. Check out our good friends' website at valiantprivatesecurity.com to learn more about their openings. You can also give them a call at area code 408-649-8386. Valiantprivatesecurity.com. Great company, great people. If you're looking for a full or part-time job, be sure to contact them if you live out in that area. If you are currently the owner of a private security company, detective agency, bail bonds, bail enforcement, public safety, or anything related, or if you sell used cars and you have a tire company and you want to advertise on our websites and on our social media platforms, feel free to contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We have very unique packages. One price gets you a display ad on our websites, our news blogs, also on all of our newsletters, our social media every day, and you get a personal introduction to all of our members worldwide. And it's a great low budget type advertising marketing plan, it won't break the bank. Contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Another thing that we often do, maybe not as frequently as we'd like or should, but we try to update you on those folks who have recently been presented awards by Private Officer International. And we've said earlier, and we say all the time, if you'd like to honor your security staff, your school agents, your retail investigators, your loss prevention, anyone in the public safety, law enforcement, or security industry, contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. That's what we love to do. So if you want to recognize anyone, just send us a quick email. Tell us who it is, what the award is for, what it involved, and we'll contact you and get this taken care of. Today, we do want to recognize Paul Carrington. He received recently the Medal of Honor he received the Medal of Valor because he interrupted a armed robbery in progress, and was able to detain the suspect and disarm the suspect, handcuff him, and wait for police. Great, strong work there by Officer Carrington. Frank Thomas was also recently awarded a life-saving award for being able to quickly jump into the water and rescued not one but two different people in Florida on a day off at the beach. So great job on his part. Sylvia Gomez in California was also recognized recently for her dedication to private security, her willingness to work for the company 24/7, be available, and to be a great representative of her agency. Troy Jamison was recognized recently. He received a award recognizing him for helping someone who had been a victim of a crime at an apartment complex, and he was able to help that victim, notify police, and really did all the right things. He didn't go capture the suspect. He didn't chase down the suspect, but he did help the victim, and so we recognize him with a Medal of Honor. And if you'd like to recognize your people, your staff, maybe even the owner of your company, maybe even me, you can contact us, helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Now, our annual awards program is coming up, and we definitely want you to notify us and to nominate your employees and others who deserve to be recognized for their strong work, their hard work, for saving a person's life, for preventing crime, whatever it might be. We also have awards for instructors, education, and companies as well. So be sure to contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. All right, today we want to talk about, and today and next week as well, we want to talk a little bit about mental health emergencies and recognizing people who are in trouble. We'll be talking about that coming up shortly. And, these type of situations are happening more and more. Now, sometimes they're for real, and sometimes they're not. They're bogus. They're made up. And it's not easy to recognize, especially if you're not a clinical clinician or paramedic. It's not easy to recognize mental health emergencies or somebody that might be under the influence, or somebody might be having a medical crisis or a mental health crisis. And we're going to talk in the next couple of weeks about how to recognize, how to assess, how to respond. And we're also going to be talking about people who are defiant, disorderly, disruptive, and how to kind of separate them from a person who really is having a medical or a mental health crisis. I do want to say one more thing before we get over to the training segment today. I recently had a long conversation with a longtime private security officer. And, when you talk about being in the industry for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and you're still making, barely minimum wage. You're a private security officer. Something's not right about that. I mean, if you're in the industry, whether you're working at McDonald's, Walmart, or private security, or whatever the industry is, you hopefully want to move up the ladder and make more money and have a better position and better benefits. And when you're there for, in the industry, going back and forth between multiple companies for many, many years, there's a problem. I will tell you that right now is the best time that I've seen ever for private security people. There's so many opportunities to move up. Right now, recently I've seen many job openings for upgraded security officers, companies internally looking for security officers who are also EMTs and paramedics for industrial and manufacturers. I've seen companies recently advertise for firefighter 1 and security, and that was in a industrial setting, and they were paying well over $60,000. I know of companies in the Washington, D.C. area hiring for government contracts. They start at $24 an hour with experience. There's a lot of opportunities. We do a class for a company, a recruitment class orientation, security orientation for a large company, and we talk about how you do progress in the security industry and how it is available to start out on the ground floor, like, with any company, and move up pretty rapidly to a supervisory position. But I think people don't recognize the opportunities that are available. They are stuck in the pattern. They are stuck in one place, stuck in the mire, always thinking that security means contract security. But there's a lot of companies out there, industrial, factories, campuses, internal proprietary security that pay a lot more. Yes, it's true that over the years, some of those companies have gone to contract to try to save a little money, but now we're seeing those companies turn around and rehire internally, begin their own proprietary department again. So there's definitely opportunity in the security industry, but like with everything, it's all what you make of it. It's all what you make of it. I want to announce a couple other things next week, which I think is really, really exciting, but we're moving and shaking, as they say, here at Private Officer International. We're doing a lot of things that you could become part of, and it would help your career growth. It would help you financially. It would help you in so many different ways. So if you're not a member, be sure to go to privateofficer.org and join today. Become a member, get involved in all the activities that we have going on, and you won't regret it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about something that a lot of people don't recognize, and that is excited delirium. We've talked about it before, but it really has become more and more of an issue. We're going to talk next week about responding to mental health emergencies and recognizing and assessing and staying safe, as well as dealing with defiant, disorderly, disruptive persons and identifying who is who, because sometimes they are both the same and sometimes they're not. We'll be right back. Don't go away. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio, sponsored by Private Officer International. Coming right back.
My name's Melissa Kinsey, and I'm with the YMCA of Lincoln. Drowning can happen in an instant. Your kids need to be safe not only in the swimming pool, but at the lake, and even in the bathtub. So what you can do to keep your kids safe is to supervise them. Put down the phone, put down the book, and sit and watch. Sit and play. Put your swimming suit on, and make sure that your kids are always in view, and they will have a great summer.
Excited delirium is new to the law enforcement community, primarily because of the rise in the use of illicit stimulant drugs, and also because of the closure of many inpatient psychiatric or mental facilities. As early as 1849, it was known as Bell's Mania, and used to be the domain of doctors and inpatient psychiatric clinics. That's primarily where you saw it. As these people have moved from an inpatient clinical setting out onto the street and begin self-medicating with illicit drugs, it's now becoming the first responder that has to deal with this syndrome. The current published medical definition of excited delirium is a state of extreme mental and physiological excitement characterized by extreme agitation, hyperthermia, hostility, exceptional strength, and endurance without apparent fatigue. In many circles, this is also known as in-custody death syndrome. We're not expecting officers to become diagnosticians or medics, but we do want you to be familiar with the different signs and symptoms of excited delirium as a medical crisis so that you recognize when somebody needs medical intervention. They're acting out, they're violent, it looks like it's a hardcore law enforcement problem. But the problem is we have no way of knowing where they are in this syndrome. We don't know if they've just started a binge or if they're circling the drain waiting to die. And we certainly don't want them dying in the back of their police car. So if you recognize this as a medical crisis, you can call the appropriate medics, we can get the medical intervention, and if appropriate, transport them to the hospital. The main reason that we're seeing this now more than ever has to do with a combination of two things. First of all, stimulant drugs are still out there and their use seems to be rising. Stimulant drugs by themselves in a one-time shot are not going to induce this. This is stimulant drug use over a period of time. We're seeing a lot of cocaine out there, a lot of methamphetamine, and those seem to be the primary culprits. The other factor is mental illness. It can be either stimulant drug, mental illness, or a combination of the two. It used to be that people who had a severe mental illness were institutionalized under the care of a doctor, and they were administered their medication at regular doses. As the emphasis in the mental health medication, if they're not taking their medication, they begin self-medicating with stimulant drugs, it's possible that they're going to find themselves in this condition of excited delirium. That means that we as first responders, the police, the firefighters, the emergency medical technicians, are going to be the first point of contact for people in this potentially life-threatening medical crisis. One of the visual aids we're going to use is to show you a video. We commonly refer to this as the barbershop video. In this, we have a person who's in the classic state of excited delirium. Just to set it up, this person's naked, showing signs of hyperthermia, which is elevated body temperature. He's sweating, he's shouting incoherent phrases. Other times you'll see somebody that's making animal noises known as keening. This person's already been shot by the property owner, so he's got apparent insensitivity to pain. He's not feeling the fact he's been shot. The officer's using a lot of body weight to try and hold this person down, and it's having no apparent effect because he's exhibiting superhuman strength. So somebody who's suffering from excited delirium, you could see extreme agitation, disorientation, or paranoia. You might see hyperthermia, which is overheating, in the form of them sweating, seeking water, or stripping off clothing. Bizarre and or aggressive behavior, shouting of incoherent words or phrases, or keening, which is making animal noises. You may see lid lift, which is the eyes open wide so you can see the whites all the way around. Paranoia, panic, violence towards others, attraction to light or glass. It's not uncommon for somebody to attack the lights of a patrol car or break out glass. Unexpected physical strength, apparent insensitivity to pain, and sudden tranquility is normally a danger sign at the very end. In this video, where we see the man wearing only socks, the things to note are the cooling behavior. He stripped off all of his clothing and is wearing nothing but a pair of socks as walking down the street. He has a strong attraction to the lights of the patrol car and, in fact, chases the patrol car for about 15 minutes. In this third video, you'll see a man standing in the middle of the street. When the officer approaches him, he becomes immediately aggressive, takes a swing at the officer, and he's combative. He then goes on to strip off his clothing, which is a sign of cooling behavior, trying to cool his body down. From there, they deploy the taser up against him at fairly close range. For most of it, that's been painful enough to drop us to the ground. In his case, you can see insensitivity to pain as he tries to fight through it. Eventually, he goes to the ground, but he's not impressed by it. He's not feeling the pain, and he's got this superhuman strength as he continues to try and fight through it.
Get on the ground now! Ligursky, bring me the taser, 500 block 11. Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get back! Stop! Lay down! Roll over!
When patrol responds to an incident like this, we want you to, first of all, worry about your safety. If you can assess this person from a distance, don't approach until you have enough resources. Get as much backup as you can to approach this person safely. You're not always going to be able to do that. If he's endangering others, you're going to have to go in. The idea is that we want you to use enough control tactics that you bring this person under control as quickly as possible. That way we can get the person restrained and delivered to medical intervention as quickly as possible. Once law enforcement becomes involved, if we have to intervene, we certainly don't want somebody dying in our custody if we can prevent it. We've established a new protocol with the Seattle Fire Department. If we request medic response for a violent subject, that's supposed to trigger a Code 7 response, meaning they're going to send us the crews to assess the scene, but they're also going to roll medics. Those medics now have an unusual protocol, meaning that they're now allowed to sedate subjects in the field if it's appropriate. That means that in order for them to sedate them, you're going to have to restrain them. They're going to need a limb or something holding still long enough to inject it with the sedative. Once that's done, they're going to assess the person and, if appropriate, transport them up to medical intervention.
Put your hand behind your back. Put your hand behind your back. Put your hand behind your back.
In the context of excited delirium, this period of peril is that moment from the time the person stops struggling for about 5 to 10 minutes afterwards, because that is the time period where their adrenaline levels are falling, potassium levels are potentially rising, and this acid level they have in the bloodstream is especially dangerous to the heart. If they're going to die from this, chances are they're going to die in that very first 5 to 10 minutes after the stroke stops. Normally that's when we as police officers are dusting ourselves off and picking up our equipment, but we need to have somebody specifically monitoring the subject during that time. If you could transfer them to medic care during that period of time, even better, because they're better to monitor the person. The medic response is going to be your judgment call as the officer. If you're out on a Friday or Saturday night and you have normal, typical bar behavior, people who are getting drunk, they're getting rowdy, maybe they're stripping off their clothing, but it's controlled behavior, when you show up, their behavior modifies, that's probably not what we're talking about. We're talking about when you show up and you see somebody who's very aggressive, they're not responding as you would expect. That's the time to begin to suspect perhaps there's something more going on. Perhaps we're seeing an actual medical crisis. If that's the case, call for a medic response for a violent subject, get the medics on scene so that they can evaluate this patient. Well, there are several different ways we can initiate this excited delirium protocol that we talked about. The dispatch center is actually training each of the operators, or they're in the process of training the operators on what to look for and what questions to ask. If they suspect that this may be an excited delirium episode that they're getting calls about, they're going to get a fire operator on the line at the same time so they can ask medical questions and determine if a joint response with fire is appropriate. If so, they're going to initiate that at the dispatch level, so we'll respond with fire. If, on the other hand, you arrive at a scene and you're seeing things that aren't quite right, that are looking like these videos and sounding like these points that we pointed out to you, go ahead and, from a distance, begin calling for your backup, if you can safely, and go ahead and get fire rolling your way so that they're on scene to sedate if appropriate and give medical treatment if appropriate. If you suspect somebody is suffering from excited delirium, your goal, once you can do it as safely as possible, is to restrain the person with a minimum amount of fight. The more they fight, the greater the chance of a negative outcome. Having said that, one of the quickest ways to restrain somebody who's under the influence of excited delirium is to go ahead and employ a taser. The idea is that while the taser is cycling, have somebody restrain the person, and deliver them to medics if the medics are present. We want to reduce the amount of fight possible. When you're restraining the person, think about increasing their ability to breathe. If their bloodstream is acidotic, the only way for them to off-gas that acid is through the exhalation of CO2. So you don't want to do anything that's unnecessary to restrict their breathing. If you suspect the person you're dealing with is suffering from excited delirium, when you write your paper, please include as many of the excited delirium factors that we discussed here as possible. The most important one, the key one that's going to help us in determining what type of medical crisis this person was suffering from, is going to be body temperature. The body temperature is one of the key indicators that seems to differentiate the excited delirium from other drug-related medical crises. If you can get the medics to take the temperature, if you have to send somebody to the hospital with them, simply ask for the vital signs. It's not a bad idea to go and document our paperwork what the blood pressure, temperature, respiration, and heart rate was. But the temperature is the main one we want you to get. If there's nobody there to take the temperature, then describe it. Touch them. Are they hot? Are they sweaty? Are they cold to contact? These are things that can help us later on if the person does die to figure out what was going on with them at the time. In developing this protocol, we've met with Dr. Kopis, and his feelings are this is actually a medical crisis. If you encounter somebody who's suffered from excited delirium, he would like the opportunity to treat this person. If it was bad and the person dies, he's much better equipped to articulate what happened to the person and why it happened and why this process actually started long before he ever came into contact with this person. As we've learned more about excited delirium, we're actually recognizing that our officers are encountering it on a more frequent basis. Fortunately, we have a great Medic One system here in our area. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have some bad outcomes if we don't treat these cases appropriately. We need to recognize the signs of excited delirium when we're encountering somebody, and we need to go ahead and activate the medic response to a violent subject if we suspect this is an excited delirium case. If the medics don't feel this is an excited delirium case, wonderful. They've screened it. We can now process them normally just like any other violent individual. But if it is a medical crisis, we've done everything that we can to deliver them to medical intervention, and if they die, it's because of something that happened to them before we encountered them, and we've done everything we could to save their life. The key is that as a police officer arriving there on the scene, you don't know how far along they are. You don't know if death is imminent or if it's still a couple hours away.
Excited delirium and mental health issues, mental health emergencies, they're real, folks. I mean, officers and EMTs and firefighters, we deal with them every day. You deal with them and maybe not even recognize the situation, but they're happening more and more. Crises are really the beginning, many times, of use of force issues, and that's what we're going to get into over the next week or two. Excited delirium is brought on usually by drug use, mental health conditions, or a combination thereof, and they can be lethal. Oftentimes, police respond with deadly force because it's the only way to stop somebody who is experiencing excited delirium. If you're working on a school campus, if you're working at a hospital, if you're working even at an apartment complex, you probably have run across these people and you may not know it. We oftentimes see these people stripping naked in the middle of the road, the highway, the park, or even at a school. And they are becoming more and more frequent incidents that we respond to. Be sure that you don't discount the actions for somebody who's just crazy or high on drugs or alcohol. Be sure that you assess it for what it truly is, and that's an emergency. But like I said earlier, not all of them, not all people committing crimes are going to be people who are also having a mental health emergency. Sometimes they will be and sometimes they won't be, and that's why we have to be very skilled at assessment. Well, that's going to do it. It's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Private Officer Beat. Don't forget to be with us again next week as we pick this up and talk about another area of this crisis that's happening. You'll see it more and more in the headlines. Police officers' shootings are all now being criticized because, oh, that person was just having a mental health emergency. They may or may not have been. They're not all, having emergencies, but sometimes they are, and we need to know the difference. Until the next time, hope that you are safe, blessed, and we'll see you back here on the radio.